anyone doesn't want to be part of the recording, it'll only be the little thumbnail, but yeah, just switch your camera off if you don't want to be on screen. But yeah, we get started, I think.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do
Yeah,
it.
perfect. I'm just going to do a little brief introduction. I'll let Kira chat more about what she does. But so Kira Sanchez is the founder of Get Griefy magazine and Get Griefy small business collective platforms dedicated to shaping the grief narrative through storytelling, art, and community. I mean, that's all I'm going to say because you're going to explain everything. So the housekeeping, as usual, it's there's closed captions at the bottom. You can click and you can use those if you need to. This session is only half an hour, but the talks, we will have some time at the end for questions. So please put questions in the chat with question at the beginning, preferably in capitals so I can see it. And I'll also share um, Kira's links and socials in the chat as well, so you can contact her that way. I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much, Victoria. And lifting the lid, this is such an honor. I'm so privileged and just humbled to be here. My name is Kara Sanchez. And I'm sure, like many of us here, grief was not something that I grew up wanting to be surrounded by. But as life happens to us, sometimes grief just it makes its way into our life, and it has become my calling. And I would like to say that it's probably my calling in more of a non-traditional sense. And what I mean by that is that everything that I do with grief and loss and the way that I use grief and loss, um, I'm incorporating so much vibrancy and zest, and everything that we do is infused in color, and it's just, I dare say, it's fun. And so I would really love to take the moment today to walk you through our platform and what it is that we're doing over at Get Griefy Magazine, and how it really has become a modality of grieving people, but also a way to help grieving people get back to life, right? And we've learned that you can accompany and carry both. You can carry grief in one hand and life in another. And it truly, for me, has been such a journey and a healing platform that I can't help but want to scream it from the rooftops. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I want to talk to you all today about just changing the narrative of what grief and loss looks like in our society. So yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be walking through today, why grief maybe needed a rebrand, and why, for me, traditional resources did not particularly resonate with me. And so, what I would like to start with is just why I'm here to begin with. Truly, I was a person who was grief and death and loss averse. I avoided it as long as I could for a very long time. Even as a child, I had a friend growing up with who was diagnosed with brain cancer when we were in fourth grade. And I remember the further she progressed along on her illness, and when she did eventually die, I was at the point personally, and I feel like maybe my family as well, sheltered me from that pain. And I didn't even go to the funeral. And now looking back, I realize how much I was maybe removed from that pain and removed from the experience of grief and loss, because, back at that time, it was something that was still very much stigmatized. And it wasn't something that was an open conversation that people were willing to engage with. And what happened to me, like many of us, is that grief hits you over the head. And my experience is my great loss was my mother. She died in June of 2022. It was just 5 days after my youngest child was born. I was actually in the NICU with my youngest child. She was born a full month early. And by reasons that I cannot understand or comprehend, my mother actually was there for the birth of my child. She was with me when she was born. And I remember her leaving the hospital and telling her, "Hey, when you get back from your trip, you're going to have to do some babysitting. I'm going to need some rest. And so my mom went on vacation shortly after my daughter was born, and she was flying to Italy on a very large group trip with many of her friends, my father, family friends, family. It was about 30 people. And she had a rough flight out to Italy. And when they got there, she decided that she just wanted to stay at the hospital, or not the hospital, I'm sorry, the hotel, and rest and just kind of take it easy for a little bit. And by the time that the group had come back to the hospital to check on her and say, hey, like, we're going to go get some dinner. Do you want to come with us? She was coughing up blood and she asked for an ambulance. And by the time the ambulance got there, she had died. So, as you can imagine, I am receiving a phone call from the NICU holding my brand new born child. And the screams that I uttered hearing the fact that my mom had died, I would say would compete with someone who was in labor. And I think that the nurses were very confused and didn't know what was going on, right? And it was one of those situations where I so vividly remember that, wow, my life is going to be forever different. And everything about my life has now changed. And that ripple effect and that echo of that grief that I experienced continued to follow me for a very long time. And by trade, I am a high school educator. I was a Spanish high school teacher for about 13 years. And I was on maternity leave during that fall after my mom had died, and just struggling with postpartum and trying to be a good mom to my newborn baby. And I also had a 1.5-year-old at the time. And I ruminated a lot on all of the conversations that my mom and I did not get to have. And I was just kind of getting started in my motherhood journey. And I felt this entire time that my mom was supposed to be here. And there's so many words of wisdom and things that she could have passed on to me that I didn't get to receive from her. And so what I started was a guided journal. And the guided journal was, in essence, to leave behind love, advice, and support for your loved ones. Almost like when we set up a will or a trust or life insurance for our loved ones when we die, this is like an emotional situation, right? And I wanted to leave that behind for other people to share with their loved ones, as well as I couldn't stop thinking about my own daughters and how one day they're going to be in this situation where they're also feeling this immense amount of pain and loss and just feeling lost in life. And so that's something that I started, and that's something that I wanted to do. And while I was engaging with other people online, kind of sharing this product that I had created, I quickly realized that I was not alone by any means in the amount of people who have decided to channel their grief into some type of creative project. And, we quickly, not only were we networking, but we were just connecting on, it felt like another level of humanity that you didn't even realize existed prior to grief. And I was like, wow, there are so many people out here who have started podcasts, they've started books, they started writing, they started creating artwork, music, greeting cards, like you name it. There's all of these beautiful products and grief-informed companies and businesses that were created out of sometimes like the worst situations we've ever lived through. I thought to myself, why isn't this getting talked about more? Why aren't people shouting this from the rooftops? Because truly, when you're in that acute phase of grief, all you can think of is, man, my life is never going to get better. But step by step, piece by piece, you do kind of find a way to get back to yourself. And it's not your old self, it's a new self. It's a self that is more informed, more understanding of the world. And I do think that grief does give you that greater capacity to feel and empathize with others. And so one day when I was in the shower, as many great ideas do come, a magazine came to me and I thought, we need to tell stories of people who are grieving in a way that is super colorful, tells their story and weaves in the pain with the purpose. And it does have a community component, meaning that all of these different types of brands, so often we interact with each other. And the magazine can almost serve as a community hub where we can all work together and find ways to serve what our common goal is. I also found that a magazine can be extremely digestible and easy to understand for people who are just approaching a topic for the first time. For example, the reason why I have, this kind of clip in here is that in our most recent issue, we talked about induced after death communication. And to someone who wants to read the scholarly article about that, of course, go for it, have at it. But in layman's terms, it's so much easier to understand when you can weave in personal examples, pictures, and really allow the person that's participating in that to share, correct? And so that was a reason for me why a magazine was so vital and important to this topic, right? And it's also just very approachable. It's inviting. You get to hear traditions and family recipes, like all of these things that we all carry with us with our grief. They all kind of blend together to create something larger than life. And so that's exactly what this magazine is. The colors for me as well is something that was super important to me, to have something that was extremely vibrant. And as you're flipping through, it's almost like a dopamine hit of hope, because you're like, wow, like this is something that, although it's incredibly tragic and although it's so heartfelt and rooted in pain, there's also so much purpose here and there's so much left to be lived. And again, that's super important to me because that's who my mom was. My mom was the type of person that, although her time here on earth was cut short, she crammed so much life into what she lived here. And all I can do is aspire to do the same. And that's what I want to help other people do as well. So that's kind of why I felt like the magazine was a missing piece of what resources we had out there in the world. And truly what we aim to cover is, yes, inspiring stories, people that have this loss to triumph moment. Most recently in issue 6, we covered Lauren Sisler, and she is an ESPN sports analyst. But when she was a freshman in college, she lost both of her parents on the same night to a fentanyl overdose. And for a very long time, she was very quiet about these types of losses because it's stigmatized. It's something that she wasn't necessarily proud of, right? And I think so many people can relate to that, but here she is now empowering people to fall in love with their story, even though their story may be hard. So that's something that, we really aim to try to highlight with our magazine. We also just want things that are incredibly relatable. Maybe they're not on ESPN, maybe they're just talking about a recipe that really reminds them of a family member who has died and they want to share that with others. And then also we just have so many people that are involved in our magazine, in our collective, that are experts in their field, and we want to provide a platform for these people to share their knowledge. And all 3 of these types of stories or funnels that we try to offer, they're also through the lens of relatability, through the lens of pop culture and what's relevant in society. So, we're really trying to encapsulate all those things with a lens that keeps people interested and locked in. And again, as a teacher, as someone who taught high school for 13 years, I realize how important that is to people that are dealing or broaching a topic that maybe sometimes we're hesitant to broach or hesitant to talk about. And if it's relatable and it's something that feels inviting and it feels digestible, people are more likely to engage with it. And so while clearly our target audience is grievers or people who work in this space, how fabulous would it be if this was something that was more mainstream and people were able to be exposed to grief and loss prior to having to that experience. So that way they had a little bit of something in their tool belt to get them through and to understand what was coming their way. And all of this was something that just kind of came to me intuitively and inherently. However, I just recently became certified as a grief and resilient expert. I just finished this training with Blair Kaplan Venables of the Global Resilience Project. And after learning more about storytelling, there truly is a science to why storytelling can be so healing to those of us who are grieving, because it does build resilience through neural coupling. So when you do share your story with others, your brain and the person who is listening to or reading your story, you somewhat synchronize. And it's truly like a phenomenon where you are able to create more empathy, connection, and emotional healing with others in your space. And so, obviously, not only is sharing stories cathartic, but it truly is scientifically proven to build resilience and help people through some of the toughest times in life. And so, although again, this was not intentional. It's not like, oh, I'm going to start a magazine because the science says so. It was like, no, I started a magazine because it intuitively felt right. And then after the fact, I was like, oh my gosh, like it was almost an affirmation that what we're doing is so hyper important to this space. So, looking ahead, we are going to be celebrating our 2nd year anniversary in a couple weeks here. And many of you don't know the personal side of my life here. I'm actually getting ready for a move. My husband's in the military. So I am going to be taking a short pause in terms of magazine production for a couple of months, but we do aim to have an issue 8 out in early spring. And we're always looking for people who want to get involved. We're looking for authentic partnerships with organizations that do similar things that we do. We're looking for new voices from this space. We do have a small business collective of people who work in the grief space, whether that means that they are an author, a podcast producer, they have retreats, they're doing energy work, like you name it, they're probably involved with our magazine. And it's a beautiful networking space where we all collectively work together on common goals. And one of our common goals coming up is Grief Awareness Week in the first week of December. We have so much content and programming coming out. And so I'm really excited about that. And truly, the sky's the limit. I feel like this magazine can really evolve into something much more powerful than it already is. And it's just been truly such a blessing. And it's so wild to say that, because if I could have my mother back, obviously, in an instant, I would snap my fingers and I would erase all of this to just have her. But we all know that that's not the case. That's not possible, right? And so what I'm doing is I am carrying my mother's legacy with me by creating this magazine, and I can feel her presence every step of the way. And it is something that has become our mission, I would say. And it's been exciting. So with that being said, I did want to keep this rather short because I knew that there was going to be lots of questions and lots of people that just wanted to hear more and had specific things that they wanted to know about. And so I want to provide the time for that. For anyone that's looking to go ahead and check out more right now, we do have our website, getgriefymagazine.com. We are on Instagram at getgriefymagazine. We're on LinkedIn as well. And the latest issue is QR coded right there. So if anyone wants to take a picture with their phone, feel free to do that. But for now, I would love to open it up for some questions.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are there's definitely some comments, a couple of them of mine. I've just written them in there because I'll start from the top. So let me just see. So Becky Robinson says, I feel the same way about bright colours and death. My grief, I don't know, my grief didn't feel like, my grief didn't feel like soft, gentle colours. It felt like bright, hot colours. So, and I made a comment and said, it's so good that the magazine embraces grief, but in a way of continuing, well, it seems to be continuing bonds and I'm sure there's other things as well, but and working through feelings in an open way rather than sort of hiding them
For sure.
away. There is a question. Hold on. Emma's saying, as a professional communicator, I love in capitals everything you're doing. A huge congratulations. Um, and then there's a question from Emma Boddington Stubbs. Is the magazine in hard copy or electronic only? And is it US only? I think you've sort of answered that by the QR code, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting about our magazine is that we offer it in both. And I feel as if grief resources, there's not enough out there that are completely accessible. So for me, it is super important to ensure that the digital version is always free. So digital, 100% free. The print we do on demand on Amazon. Just at this point in the stage in the game, I don't have the capacity to be running a printing and mailing server. It adds an extra layer, right? And so for now, the plan is just to continue doing print on demand. And if people are curious about ordering a copy, they just go on Amazon and they order it and it gets shipped straight to their door. I could see it potentially turning into a subscription down the road, but we're just not there yet.
Amazing. Thank you. I just worked through another comment for me was because I work at a funeral directors and many people don't, I find many people don't need much encouragement to share stories about their person who's died. And I often, obviously, after assessing the situation, but I often ask people how they met the person. And often you see their faces light up when they tell the stories. Even they may, there may be tears, but there is something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's so special to just have a place to feel like your story about whoever it is that was in your life that was so important, it still has a place to live. And just because they're physically not here doesn't mean that they're not a part of your life anymore. And I think that that's such an important piece to carry moving forward. Like my mom is, even though she's physically not here, she's always with me, and she's someone that I carry her lessons with on a daily basis. So I think about her daily, and so I think that that's an important thing to say out loud and lead by example.
fantastic. And I think you've already answered it really, but Haley was saying that about have you found digital format hard to sell in, sorry, print format, which I know you're hard to sell in a digital world, but also someone's put in the chat the link, the Amazon link. You said Haley said that she loves some personal something she personally loves something tangible to hold and read.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, it really just depends on the issue, but like this last issue, for whatever reason, it printed phenomenal. Like, I don't know what else to say. It just looks so good in print. So it's true. There's something about something print in your hand. It just feels good. So I know not everyone always has the means to purchase, but if they do, it supports the magazine. So thank you.
Mm.
But again, the digital is free just because we want to make sure that anyone could use that resource that's available to them. And it's not something that's going to impact their wallet at this point.
And how often is it out? You
We
probably
do
said, but
quarterly right now. But again, because of my move, I'm not going to do a quarter four. I'm just going to jump to quarter one in 2026. So we just came out with one on November 1st was our latest issue. So.
oh, okay, amazing. I'm just trying to see this. Oh yeah. So Elise is saying the printed copies are so lovely in person. So she must have seen them. Oh, and
It's from Elrisi.
yes,
Yes,
Elise, yeah.
Elrisi is one of our members of the Small Business Collective. She's absolutely
Uh,
fantastic. So I think she was actually featured in this last issue as well.
oh,
So
amazing. And yeah, Manel, sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Manel Williams would like to unmute and ask a question. Go
Hey,
ahead.
yes, Manila is perfect. Okay, I'm trying to explain it, but it took too much to try to explain it in writing. The way that your magazine is, I feel like this is a spot. Do you know the Am I the Asshole TikTok viral like things where people are reading and they're sharing stories? Like, like they just kind of get people's stories that they send in. I'm like, I would love like I don't know if this is something you guys are thinking, not necessarily that, of course, but like something where people can share their stories, but in like because you it just feels so open and welcoming, right? It's a place where they could share them freely. That might be really fun. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, so I don't have a TikTok, but I'm sure I can easily find out what it is that you're talking about. I would love to have more ideas for audience engagement and ways for people to participate. So I welcome that. And so if anyone has ideas or, thinks of ways that we can get more readership and people involved, please let me know. Because I think that I like to say that, yes, I started this, but this is not my magazine. It's everyone's magazine. And it's a place for all of us to come together and learn and have a place to share the things that we have learned along the way. Some of us are grief experts because we've actually picked up the books and studied it, but some of us are experts through experience in life. And so I think that is also extremely valid and extremely important to share the different layers of grief. Not everything needs to be scholastic.
Yeah, very true. If anyone else would like to, we've just got a couple of minutes. If anyone else wanted to come on and ask anything, please do, or type it in the chat. And obviously, yeah, contact Kira and with any ideas or any, yeah, anything really. And I'm going to download the magazine for sure, and maybe get a print copy as well. Let me see. I think I just think they're probably all reading the magazine. That's probably Haley's saying, how about in libraries? Oh, yeah.
I would love for libraries to, I honestly think that would probably be the most equitable thing ever if libraries were able to pick up copies. Right now, what we do tend to do is if we do get extra funding and things like that, I do send them to different organizations that have grief libraries embedded in their brick and mortar support centers. But I also think that local libraries would be great. And so that's something, if anyone knows how to do that and get placed in libraries throughout the world, let me know, because I would love that to happen.
Well, Alexis Everhart has just ordered a print copy for herself, but she's also said, I will ask my librarian friends to order some. My librarian friend at PCC to order some. So
yeah, I honestly think that every library should get a copy. But that's just me personally, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like there's just such a need for grief resources. There really is. So
PCC was Portland Community College.
okay. Yeah.
So yeah, everyone's saying it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and another layer to this too is something that people don't always think about, but people that are truly in that acute phase, they don't have the capacity to open up a really big, heavy book. And your brain is just not working the same as it would on any other given day. And so what I feel is also an extra layer of validity with the magazine is that people can just flip through it and it's almost like tarot style. Like, this is what's calling to me today. And that's something that I can read and feel supported in less than 5 minutes. And so it doesn't have to be something like, oh, I'm committed to reading this book, right? It's not like that. So I think that's just another layer of why it's important to have something that's just an easy, uplifting read. And again, the color is so super important when you're feeling so terrible. It's like almost like looking at flowers, right? It just gives you a hit of something, a little dopamine hit that makes you feel a little bit better. And again, we're not here to fix, we're not here to heal our grief, but we are here to find a way to carry on, right? Step by step. And so I hope that that's what this magazine is doing for people that are really struggling. So
fantastic. Elizabeth Jane Lovely is saying most university libraries in London, at least, are pretty good at buying things in on request. So maybe we should all bombard those that ask them to. And Henry Renfraz said, I asked my friend at Multnomah County Library to get some copies. So that's amazing.
Yeah, well, I seriously welcome anyone that's in this space or feels called to learn more about the magazine or the things that we're doing, to just check us out on the website, especially on the participate page. There's just so many ways to get involved. And I would just love, like, this community is beautiful because it's so diverse and it's filled with people from all over the world. And again, I hate to use the word fun, but we have fun together, guys. And that's not something that most people would associate with grief, but I promise you we do. So it really has grown into a beautiful community and we're so supportive of each other. So it's been a blessing. I say that there's no such thing as silver linings because that implies that it's in a cloud and it's raining from the sky. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're harvesting the silver. And so in order to do that, you have to climb into a mine and sit in some really dark times, but eventually with some effort, you can pull some silver out of there and you can show that off. And that's what we're doing. So
amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're gonna have to wrap wrap it up. It's also, gosh, you've got a birthday party to get back to.
I'm literally recording this. My daughter has her birthday party downstairs. I'm in the bathroom. Those things are great.
Thank you so much for coming. But if you want to save the chat, Kira, I don't know if you do, to be able to.
Sure. I don't even know.
It's the three dots at the top. You probably know the three dots in the chat box next to lifting the lids personal meeting room. Three dots.
Okay, cool. Done.
So you can have a look at some of the comments later. And if anyone else wants to do that, please do. We're gonna have actually because we have to shut the we've only got a certain amount of time for each room on the each session on for lifting the lid. It's 72 hours, but we have to shut the whole thing down and then come back on. So this is one of those times. So it's one time that I don't have to move everyone into the waiting room, but it just does mean that you'll be sent out and then you'll have to log back in for the next one that's going to be at where are we? It's 12:15. Well, it's 12:15 at our time, so it's about in where are we? In about sort of half an hour, just under half an hour. But you will be out as soon as I enable the waiting room again. You'll be able to go back in there. So I'm just gonna finish the whole. I'm gonna end the session. I feel a bit guilty doing this. I'm going to end it and then
I'm going to leave. So everyone have a great night or day or wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you so much. And I'm just glad to be here. So
thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Did you want to stop recording? I probably will when you disappear, but yeah.